In this presentation, we're going to cover some of the basic elements of putting a community response plan together, with some useful tips based on the experiences of communities which already have one. First, it's worth considering the reasons why all communities should have their own response plan. Although we often escape the worst of the weather here in the East Midlands, that's absolutely no guarantee that we will in the future. North West Leicestershire found that out in June and again in December last year, when it was hit by torrential downpours causing flooding on a scale previously unseen. Since then, a number of the North West Leicestershire communities have either completed a plan or are in the process of doing so. The North West Leicestershire communities now recognise the value of being prepared. If you can respond quickly to an actual or an impending incident, there's a lot that can be done to limit the impact and potentially to avert more serious consequences. And by doing so, you also gain the advantage of speeding up the process of recovery afterwards. Importantly though, community response plans should have at their heart the intention to support local residents who need assistance in those circumstances. And the government recommends it. Since it first published the original Community Emergency Plan template back in 2011, the Civil Contingencies Secretariat has been encouraging all communities to plan for emergencies. And finally, there has never been a better time to say yes, because we're now able to offer a valuable incentive. Communities that complete an aware and prepared community response plan will be able to select items to the value of £600 for a community emergency store. But more about that a bit later on. So, where to start? Well, first you need to put together a small planning team, and here are some examples of the way this has been approached elsewhere. A number of town and parish councils have formed a subcommittee from within their own number. A different model was used in Donisthorpe, where the coordinator identified a number of suitable individuals based on the skills and resources they had available to them. He approached them individually and invited them to take part. All accepted, and they formed an effective team and got the job done. Sapkert has been able to capitalise on the fact that one of its residents is a retired emergency planning officer who volunteered to undertake the work. In their case, a draft was completed on the basis of an initial consultation, and the council has since gone on to approve and ratify the final plan. Sowerby is a particularly large village, and the parish council there opted to invite a variety of the local institutions to take part. They set up a mixed working party which includes faith groups and schools amongst its number. One of the first jobs of the planning team is to complete a risk assessment of the local area. Local risks might include flooding, either from rivers and watercourses or from surface water, black ice affecting roads and pathways, major transport routes, hazardous commercial operations, and these are just some of the examples. The risk assessment shouldn't be overlooked because it provides the basis for the work that will follow and includes identifying the people and properties that could be affected and involving them in the process. The opportunity to investigate solutions for eliminating or reducing risks. Identifying response actions that could potentially be taken during an incident to limit its impact. And identifying the relevant equipment and resources that would be needed to improve response capabilities. The various steps in the planning process are set out in the Community Response Plan Toolkit, which can be found on the LLR Prepared website. Details of our website are given at the end of this presentation. In summary, they deal with cataloguing the local resources that could be brought into use in an emergency, and these should consider volunteers, tools and equipment, supplies, transport. Identifying places of safety. These are the places that can be opened up to provide shelter and refreshments to people who need them. Agreeing the triggers for activating the plan, specifying who would do this and the initial actions they should take, and making provision for the equipment and supplies that would be needed at short notice in the first instance, the emergency kit. Whilst the planning team is likely to be a small group, the community response team needs to be much larger, as this is the group of volunteers who can be called out to assist in an emergency. There are lots of different approaches that can be used to recruit volunteers for the community response team, and here's just a few. You can advertise for volunteers in local publications. Examples might include church magazines or your local magazine and community newsletter. Make specific approaches to groups and clubs, including youth organisations, special interest groups or sports clubs even. Enlist the support of the local schools, pubs and churches. They've got great resources and great networks too. And involve the new library management group if you have one to embed the community response plan at the heart of the new community hub. Many people will want to assist in their community in an emergency and will be pleased to sign up. It's also important that the community response team should include representation from all parts of the community, particularly in larger conurbations. And this allows the community response team to reach out widely through its networks to identify those people needing help and to share information and advice. One of the earliest actions that needs to be taken if you're activating a community response plan is to get in touch with each other. The traditional model for this is the contact cascade, where one person phones two, they both phone others, and those others then continue to phone down the chain. This works really well because having started the call cascade, the original caller, who is probably acting as the coordinator, is then free to move on to the other actions on the list. However, now social media offers other and faster options, including WhatsApp. This works well if you set up a WhatsApp group for the members of the community response team. A single text can be used to alert the entire team, and all members can then see the replies as people start to respond. Facebook can be used in a similar way and has the added advantage that it can be used to display information to the wider community if they choose to join that page. Indeed, a lot of communities have set up their own Facebook page now for the general sharing of all sorts of local information. Other digital networks are also becoming available. One recent example is nextdoor.co.uk. Originally launched in the US, where it's being integrated into public alerting processes, it was used here in the UK by neighbours and the public living around Grenfell Tower to coordinate donations to rest centres and communities there. Finally, in this presentation, we want to let you know about the incentive that we're currently offering. Those communities which complete a community response plan can select items to the value of £600 with which to create a community emergency store. It's an incentive that's been made possible by a grant from the Environment Agency's local levy fund, and we're particularly pleased to be running this scheme because it's a way of adding a tangible resource and capacity into those communities. Eligibility for the scheme is based on the following. Completion of an aware and prepared community response plan, that is, using the aware and prepared toolkit and template with advice from the Resilience Partnership team. The successful completion of a validation exercise undertaken with one of our resilience officers. And supplying us with a copy of your plan to store and the contact details of those we can contact in an emergency. The process for submitting your order is very straightforward. The order form comprises a list of 52 priced items, and it's simply a matter of completing the form with the quantities you want of the items you select. The items have been selected to provide specific capabilities in the areas of protecting property, protecting responders, signposting hazards, clearing debris, communications, and finally catering. We're pleased to report that the initiative has so far proved really successful, but we've only secured funds for 50 community emergency stores, and there's no guarantee that we will be able to continue this scheme after the initial grant has been spent. So the message is just simply sign up now. The LLR Prepared website contains the advice, the toolkit and the template for the community response plans. It contains advice for households and for businesses too, plus information about the emergency planning work of LLR Prepared. If you want to sign up for the Community Emergency Stores scheme or would simply like to find out more, then contact the Resilience Partnership team by phone on 0116 305 6101, or you can email us at llrprepared@less.gov.uk, or you can go through to us direct from our website www.llrprepared.org.uk. So that brings us to the end of this presentation. You can find further advice on the LLR Prepared website at www.llrprepared.org.uk. And should you have any questions, you can contact us via email at llrprepared@less.gov.uk. That's llrprepared@leics.gov.uk. Or of course you can phone us on 0116 305 6101. Thank you.